So our next speaker is Whitney Wiley. She's the founder and chief evolution officer of Shifting into Action. She's also a best-selling author, trainer, consultant, in-demand coach, and sought-after speaker. As the premier next stage coach, Whitney utilizes her extensive experience over 25 years of coaching and leadership development, career management transition, and dream and goal achievement to help new and aspiring leaders become the leaders they are capable of being. After suffering some unhealthy environments in her past, it became her mission to help create workplace settings to foster encouraging, supportive, and constructively engaging environments where people love to work. Her goal today is to start you on the road to becoming the leader you are meant to be. So let's hear it for Whitney. Woo, woo, woo. There we go. Oh, wait, that's right. Jazz hands. I gotta remember that jazz hands thing. I don't know why I have an aversion to that. Maybe it's because I don't do jazz dancing. I don't know. So Whitney, welcome to Women Action Takers Summit. I'm super excited to have you today because, becoming the leader, like becoming the leader, how do you become your own boss? How do you become a boss that is looked up to by, people who, are under you, and, they're expecting you to do a good job. They're expecting you to lead them. And I know I've had many jobs. I've had 52 jobs. So don't be shocked, everybody, but I've had 52 jobs. And so with that, I've been under a lot of different leadership styles. And I know, like, for me, what works for me and what doesn't work for me. But today we're going to talk about you being the leader. So not following the leader, but you being the leader. And how do you step into that role of, what is it that helps you to move into that role where you're a good leader, a leader that people want to continue to follow? Because ideally, we have, like, in today's climate, a lot of people, longevity is considered like 6 months. Back in the day, longevity was 30 years. So it's changed drastically. But really, I believe it's the leadership that will get people to stick around, because it's our loyalty to the company that gets us to stick around. So how do we build ourselves as the leader that we are meant to be, just as Whitney says? And so today I'm super excited to talk about this topic because, again, I'm moving into this myself. So I need all the things that we're going to be learning today. And that's, when you create a summit, a lot of times you create what you need yourself. So that's what I've done here. So Whitney, I want to hear from you. I want to hear, what makes a good leader as opposed to a poor leader?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, Linda, thank you for the opportunity to be part of the summit. Leadership is something that is extremely important to me. As you mentioned in my bio, I spent a period of my career, a great chunk of my career, in fact, working for people in different organizations that I thought did leadership poorly. And it was out of that I started studying leadership and management and organizations. And I started in a place where I was just taking some courses for fun. We're all learners here. And one of the things that I did was I just started taking some courses at the community college. And I wanted to understand what went into good decision-making in organizations, what made people tick as leaders. And one of the things you just mentioned was that there are leadership styles that don't work for you. And all of us have that. There are tons of leadership styles. And when you are overseeing a team, all of those people on your team are going to require something different of them that helps to bring them out, right? That brings the best out in them. And so the place that I start with leadership and good or bad, and those are value judgments. I prefer to, and I say those sometimes, but I really prefer not to look at it as good leadership or bad leadership. And it's more leadership that gives the result that you're looking for, right? So the place that we have to start is with ourselves. And Veronica mentioned this earlier, that good, leadership starts within. If you don't understand yourself, if you don't understand how you impact people, how you relate with them, then you're going to have a difficult time leading them. And so you have to learn how to lead yourself first. And the way you do that is to get clear on who you are. And so it starts with self-awareness. And once you are clear on who you are and you can lead yourself, then you can start to build the relationships that it takes to lead other people. So I think in general, when I think of good leadership, I think of, or a good leader is someone who is able to bring out, who empowers the people that they're leading, that they're responsible for, that they take the time to relate with them, to build trust. It isn't about someone necessarily having to like you or love you even, but it's about you creating an environment that allows them to be the best and bring the best of who they are to the workplace that you're creating. So for instance, if you have a team and you've got disengaged employees, you have to stop and ask the question on why they're disengaged. Why are they not delivering? And if the statistics say that somewhere around 70%, 80%, depending on the study, of American workers in particular are disengaged and hate their jobs. But they stay. And when they stay, it impacts your bottom line, right? And so particularly as an entrepreneur, someone who's going from being a solopreneur to someone who's going to lead either virtual teams or in-person teams, you have to stop and think about all the pieces. And I know that Hank and Sharon are going to talk about this later, how your team, your employees are an extension of your marketing and how you build your business. But in the moment, when you are thinking about how you interact with the people that you are responsible for, it's important for you to understand who they are, what they need, and how to bring out the best in them.
That mute button, it got the best of me. That's awesome. I love it because it's so important in business as we're growing our business. Again, we're talking about growing your business and becoming that leader that you're meant to be. So I know we talked about a couple of questions that I was going to ask you, but I want to ask something a little bit off topic on that. And it's, how do you make that transition? So, here I am a little later in life, and I'm realizing that, first of all, I'm realizing that I am a leader, but still, that doesn't mean that suddenly, boom, I'm out there as a leader. There's a transition that I have to go through, or that I shouldn't say that I have to, a transition that I am going through of like tapping into like, wow, I'm a leader. What does this mean? What kind of leader do I want to be? How do I want to lead? What does this look like? So there's so many different variables in that. So how am I going to make that transition? Just pretend like you're talking to me, Whitnie. It's just you and me here.
I think what you just said is the start of that, which is to ask the questions. And what I find is that people don't stop to think about what kind of leader they actually want to be, right? So in corporate life, you get promoted and you're promoted, and then one day you're assigned a team. If you're lucky, you get a corporation that has invested in you along the way. It doesn't always happen. And so you find yourself with a team, and as part of overseeing and managing this group of people, you don't have any idea of how you're supposed to go about doing that. So the very first question you have to ask yourself is what kind of leader do I actually want to be? And not a value judgment of good or bad, but what kind of leader do I want to be? What kind of boss do I want to be? And you have to ask that same question if you are growing your business and taking on employees or virtual assistants or contractors even, which Katrina Booker is going to talk about that aspect a little later, virtual contractors and virtual assistants. But you have to ask yourself, what kind of leader do I want to be to this group of people? So that you can start to ask the questions, how do you go about doing that? You need to have a vision for your leadership. You need to have a vision for how you're going to interact with people. And once you have a vision about who you're going to be with them, then you can start to ask questions. And Veronica brought this up as well about your values. What do you value? Because you want to be in alignment with the people that you're bringing along so that you can empower them, so that you can communicate with them, so that you can relate with them, so that they will then move the vision of your business or your organization forward. And it's a little difficult to do that if you are not self-aware about who you are and how you're impacting the people that you're working with.
This
So
brought
it's
in
a mindset. It's a mindset shift, right? It starts with your mind, you thinking about what it is you want and where it is you're going.
Yeah, and that brought another thought is that it can be maybe scary for some people to think that, oh, you're moving into a leadership role. Because, for example, I'll use me as a great example because, I had so many fears for so many decades. And part of my fears were around people pleasing. And, I became a people pleaser, right? So for someone like me, as an example, moving into a leadership role, this means like I had to let go of the people pleasing and not be so worried about other people because I have a goal and a mission in mind. So how am I going to reach that goal and mission if I'm so worried about stepping on other people's toes, about pleasing everybody else? So I just want to kind of like talk about that. If you can talk on that subject a little bit about moving into a leadership role and moving away from that people pleasing aspect.
So let me challenge you with this first. You're already a leader. We're all already leaders, right? You are running a business, you're a leader. And so the most simple definition of leader is simply someone who has people following them, right? The most simple, basic ground level definition. Now, you could get into some textbook definitions of other things, but it's someone who has people following them. If you have children, you're a leader. If you have clients, you're a leader. So think about yourself already in that context. Start there. I am a leader, and it is the example that I'm setting for other people, right? That drives the questions that you want to be asking about how you go about being that leader. Again, not with the value judgments of good or bad, but how am I leading? How am I setting an example for my employees, for my children, for the people in my church, for the people that see me at the store, right? When you are out in the world, if you're doing anything that's outside of the four walls of your home, and anyone else is seeing you, you're already there. So then it becomes, how do I make the switch and stop? I would say if you start there, then you don't have to worry about how you are going to make a switch to being a leader because you're already there. So adopt that as the first mindset. Then going back to, what is your vision for how you're interacting with people? How do you create relationships with people? And Veronica talked about some of that earlier. The essence of leadership is relationship. And relationship becomes about getting to know people, what matters to them, how you can help them become all they're going to be. And once you can do that, take the onus off of yourself, put the focus on other people, you realize that leadership isn't about you, right? It really isn't about you. But here's the thing, it still is about you. And so there's a balance in that. And the way you have to think about it, that it's the focus isn't on you, Linda, or the rest of us here. The focus isn't on you. It's about what you're doing for other people and how you are lifting them up, empowering them, and then realizing that the piece of leadership that is about you is about your understanding of who you are and how you connect with people.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. I like that. Especially, I never thought about, as being a mother of, 2 kids myself. I never thought of myself as being a leader. So thanks for that perspective, because, we are all leaders. We're born leaders, I believe, but it's just sometimes we don't know how to lead. And so it's learning how to lead. And I think that's what you're, basically talking about here today.
Exactly.
So I'm curious, like, where did you get all your, lessons about leadership yourself?
I get my lessons about leadership from life, and I look at everything as an opportunity to learn, right? You either learn or you succeed, I think is the saying. That every experience is an opportunity to learn something, and it's an opportunity to set an example of how you lead. And so if you look at it that way, you're constantly leaving a trail. So in my life, I have had opportunities where I've held positions or titles of leadership, right? And so when I say you're already a leader, you're a leader every day, there are some people who think that leadership is a title. It's not a title. It's not about the inherent authority in a particular position. It is about your ability to influence people. And when you think of it as an opportunity to influence rather than an opportunity for you to assert authority or your power over people, then it becomes more about how you move towards a goal, a vision as a team together. And so I've held positions in corporate life, on committees. I was the chair of the committee of bar examiners for a while, in nonprofits and other things. But you can have a position and no one wants to work with you, right? So it doesn't matter what the title is. It becomes a matter of who wants to go on the journey with you. And if you're running your own business and no one wants to be on the journey with you because of the way you treat them, because of your inability to communicate what it is you need from them, then it will create a problem for you as you're attempting to grow your business. So life, look at the experiences of your life to see what lessons you could learn from them about how you interact with people, how you influence them, how you made them feel, how you empowered them, and how you helped them grow. It is simply a matter of looking out for other people and building them up.
That's so true, because empowering others, right? When we are doing good leadership skills, we're actually empowering others to become the leaders they're meant to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's such
I
beautiful.
think that's a shift, right? That is a shift that, so I study organizational development and leadership. And after the community college, I actually went back to school and got a master's degree in this, studying leadership. And so, studying the history of work, there was a time where it was about just getting things done. And the theory is called people as machines. And management just pushed them to get things done, pushed harder, pushed them longer. And so we've evolved in that, but there are still some people that hold on to that notion. And those matter, the managers that manage that way are the ones that I think are driving a lot of the unhappiness and a lot of the angst that is in corporate life. And so you have a choice to be the kind of leader that you've seen other people be, to be the kind of boss you've had in the past, or you can make a choice to be something different. And I want to share this short story. So when I was in my last corporate gig, I spent the first 12 years of my time in that organization with, I think, 3 different managers. And I had a colleague that we started 1 month apart. Over the course of 12 years, we spent a lot of time talking about the managers that we had directly, that we reported to directly, the leadership of the organization overall, including the board that oversaw the leadership team. And at about 12 years in, this colleague became my boss. Now, we had spent 12 years talking about bad leaders, bad managers. If we ever became, the manager of the department we worked in, how we would go about doing it. She had the choice when she got promoted to do management the way it had been done for us, or to make a decision to go in a different direction. And she made an intentional, so this becomes the other thing about after self-awareness, is becoming intentional about how you're going to go about leading, how you're going to go about doing the work that you do. She was very intentional about how she chose to lead her team. The result was she became the first, and to this day, the only manager, director level employee of that organization to be voted by the entire staff as Employee of the Year. And she was the only person that received that award twice, once as an employee and once as a manager. And it was because she made very clear, and she had a very clear vision of the kind of manager she wanted to be, which was hands-on, available, open door, that empowered her staff to act independently, but to supply the tools and resources that they needed in order to get the job done. And so we worked on that. Even though she became my boss, we worked on her approach to running that team together, because it had started in our friendship as we were moving up through 12 years. And she just made a decision to intentionally go in that direction. There was another manager that he was in a different department, and he got a promotion shortly after my boss got her promotion. He took a totally different approach. He might not say he chose this, but he chose to lead the way it had been done and modeled for him. And so we all have to make decisions. So as an owner of your business, you have to make a decision. How am I going to interact with the people that I bring on, whether they are actual employees or they are your virtual help or contract help? How are you going to interact with them? How are you going to relate with them, communicate with them? How are you going to build trust so that you can get from them what you need from it? And that's all leadership is. And I think we tend to make it some sort of highfalutin, thing that's out in the atmosphere. And it really boils down to getting into your heart and leading from a place of what you can do for other people, what you can bring to them. Give them a vision that they can hold on to. Help them connect to your business's vision, your mission, your values, right? Not in a groupthink way, not in in an attempt not to have diversity of thought or impact, but to bring people on who are in alignment with your values and your mission for your business, so that they can help you move your business forward. Excuse me.
I love that. I wrote down a couple different things here that I feel are very important to, get clear on as well. Like for me as a leader, something that's extremely important to me, it was important to me as an employee, but it's also important to me as a leader, is communication. Like I just want to know what's going on, right? So as an employee, I wanted to know what's going on from the higher ups. So therefore, I translate that to me as a leader. I say, this was important to me here. So how can I make sure that I also am communicative, being as communicative as I possibly can, So like that was one thing. And I think that the thing you mentioned, you touched on, the other lady, right? She had a clear vision.
Yeah.
And so her clear vision was clear, and she was able to, again, communicate that clear vision clearly to her staff, right? So that they knew what was expected of them. So I think is kind of what I'm following there, is like, it's really like, what do you expect of the people who are you're leading? So there's different ways to lead. Like I lead a group on Facebook, but then I also lead a team that's helping me to lead a group on Facebook, right? So I have different leadership roles at different times, and I have different expectations in different areas depending on who it is that I'm leading at the time. So I think that clear vision, I would like to know like your perspective on confidence and leadership, because this was the other thing I heard you mentioning was confidence, and Veronica talked about it earlier, confidence, right? So your confidence in your leadership, how important is that in order to have the team to continue to want to follow you, but not only follow you, because again, you're creating leaders, right? A good leader creates leaders.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that confidence aspect.
So, in my thinking, confidence is about taking action. And I think people tend to think that if I can do X, Y, Z once I get the confidence, that the actual way that works is you do X, Y, Z, and you gain confidence by taking action. So the more action you take, the more confidence you take. And it goes back to there's no failure, right? You can't fail. You learn and grow, or you succeed. So take the action, learn from it if it doesn't go quite the way you want, and then continue on. In leadership, don't look, I guess I want to say, don't look at if you are communicating with someone and it doesn't go well, or you've got people that are not exactly doing what it is you want, right? To stop and take a step back and say, how can I do this better? Where is the communication failing? Where is my empowering them failing? Where can I make some changes and tweaks so that we can get closer to the result that we're trying to get to? And I believe that if you change the definition of success, right, in anything you do, you are in charge of what success looks like for that endeavor. Instead of always having success be a particular outcome, make success about only those things that you can control, right? In pursuit of the outcome that you are moving towards, because you can't guarantee any particular outcome. So all you can do is continue to take steps, take actions that move you in the direction, and you will shift and make adjustments along the way. if here's an example. Everyone here, I'm sure, has been on an airplane at some point in their life. If your definition of a successful trip on the airplane was from point A to point B to go in a straight line, you would never have a successful flight. You have to think about that. It is a lot of micro adjustments along the way that gets a plane from point A to point B. The plane is the automatic pilot, or when the pilot is actually running the plane, flying the plane, not automatic pilot. There are shifts for wind factor, and I'm not a pilot, so I don't know all of these things, but wind factor and, temperature and elevation and, the turbulent air and all of that. And so the plane is constantly making adjustments so that it can get to its final destination, but it's not a straight, continuous, smooth line. And we have to stop thinking that our efforts as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a boss, as a mom, as a, spouse, whatever, we have to stop thinking that it is some straight, continuous line. And yes, it's when we're driving as well, right? I love Waze because it helps me do that, right? To make adjustments along the journey. And we have to remember that it is the adjustments that we make that make a difference for how we get from point A to point B. So the confidence comes not in, that it's going to be some perfect smooth line from here to there, but that you are taking the actions necessary that move you to where you want to go.
That is good nuggets right there. Awesome. I'm seeing the jazz hands. I'm seeing the fire, the 100. I'm seeing the hearts. I'm seeing it all. I'm seeing it all. This is so fantastic. I love this because, leadership is something that, there's a lot of us learn how to be good leaders, better leaders, maybe at a younger age. And, some of us are just starting, now. And that's me. Like you said, I've always been a leader. And what's been interesting about it for me is as I've looked back, through my past, I see and recognize that I was a leader, like way back in junior high school. I was leading things, but I never saw myself as a leader because I had this thing about pleasing everybody.
Yeah.
And so that was my thing. I think that, for me, the thing that I had to really break through was this sense of being a people pleaser in order to be able to be a better leader. Like I was already a good leader back then, but now I'm just going to get better and better and better because I have an idea, a vision, clearly communicating that vision to my team, and sometimes it's not that clear. Sometimes it's muddy.
And sometimes it doesn't, which goes to a point about vulnerability and authenticity, right? And communication. You don't have to have all the answers. Even as a leader, you don't have to have all the answers, but you can make a decision. You can work with your team and say, we're going to, with the information that we have right now, we're going to make a decision or I'm going to make a decision and we're going to move in this direction. And if it isn't working out or if it isn't leading us where we want to go, we'll make adjustments. And being open and honest with that, right? And if it doesn't go well, to come back and say, I thought this was the way to go. It didn't work out so well. So here's some adjustments we're going to make. I think you will find that people will respect you more. Your employees will respect you more if you don't pretend like, one, you know everything, you have all the answers. And then when it doesn't go well, you're throwing other people under the bus. No one likes that. And it creates angst, and it's probably the fastest way to get people to leave your organization. And so it doesn't matter, again, whether it's virtual assistants, if it's employees, if it's contractors, if you are creating an environment where people are not feeling like they are actually part of the team. And to be a part of the team means that we're in this together. We're in the trenches together. We're on the bench together. We are moving forward together. If people are not feeling that, and it's like you're dragging people along rather than sort of a push and pull, where sometimes you're pushing people, sometimes they're pulling you, right? And that you are in it together, you're going to find it very difficult to be able to have people that will be around helping you grow your business, and you'll constantly be churning people, which will result in one of two things, or maybe more than two things. But that trust that you were talking about with Veronica earlier, if you don't feel like you can trust people, then you're going to have a difficult time delegating. And if you can't delegate and get off your plate those things that keep you from bringing your genius, the ikigai that Marilyn was talking about, if you can't live in that space and you are constantly doing things that are not the best use of your gifts and your talents and your skills, then you're going to have a difficult time growing your business the way you want to. And so the bottom line, I would love for you to take away this, to get some self-awareness around who you are and how you interact as a leader, how it is you uplift and empower people, how you communicate with them, to have a clear vision, not just for your business, which I think most of us who are in business either have a clear vision for a business or are working towards that, but you need to have the component piece of your vision for your leadership and how you are bringing people into the fold, and you are working together to move towards your business vision. And then just remember, it's not about you. Stop thinking that it's always about you, and think about other people and how you can bring them along. As you do that, they will lift you up, right? They will move you forward. And that then makes it possible for you to get where you're trying to go with your business.
It's like a freaking freight train at that point. There's
Yes.
no stopping. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.